Hi everyone, my name is Annie, and this is my presentation of my advocacy plan that I've been creating over the last couple of weeks in my LME448 class, and it is over gender equality. All right, so for my advocacy plan, I focused on two main targets from the gender equality goal. The first one is all about ending discrimination against women and girls. It's a pretty simple idea, but obviously still a huge issue in a lot of places. And then the second target is just making sure that women can actually participate and make decisions, whether that's in government, work, or even in just their communities. I wanted to highlight these two because they really do go hand in hand. Like, you can't have equal participation if discrimination is still stopping you. So, as I said before, I'm Annie Hines. This topic has kind of always mattered to me, and not just in a big political way, but in the everyday stuff too, like how women are treated, the opportunities they get or don't get. I feel like once you start paying attention and learning about inequality, that's when you really do see it everywhere, like at school, work, and the news. And that's kind of what pushed me to make this as my project. So, section one is my exploring section, and this is just where I looked at big picture, the local, national, and global issues that connected to gender equality. Starting off with global, gender inequality is honestly still a huge issue worldwide. In a lot of developing countries, girls still don't get the same access to education. Stuff like poverty, child marriage, and even the lack of safe schools can stop them from even making it past elementary or middle school. And then there's gender-based violence, which is still extremely common globally. Things like domestic abuse, sexual violence, and trafficking. In some places, women don't have legal protection or anywhere safe to go. Another major thing is economic inequality. Women are way more likely to work low-paying or unpaid jobs, and the wage gap is way bigger in developing countries. Plus, in a lot of governments around the world, women just are barely have representation. There just aren't enough women in leadership to make decisions that actually affect lives. And finally, there are some countries that still have laws or cultural rules that still limit women, like not being able to inherit land, travel alone, or make certain decisions without a man. So, globally, gender equality isn't just one problem, it's this layered system that affects every part of a woman's life. Moving on to national problems. These are the issues we see across the United States. The big one that everyone has heard about is the pay gap. Women still aren't earning the same as men, even when they have the same qualifications. Then there's just gender bias, which shows up in hiring, promotions, and just overall career growth. Women often have to prove themselves twice as much just to be taken seriously. Women are also still underrepresented in politics. We have definitely made some progress, but when you look at Congress or governor positions, men still dominate those spaces. Leadership stereotypes play a huge role too. This idea that women are too emotional or not tough enough really holds people back from opportunities they're totally qualified for. Childcare. Honestly, that is a huge barrier that I never really understood or looked at. And the lack of affordable childcare makes it a lot harder for moms to move forward in their careers or even stay in certain jobs. So, even though we're a developed country, we still have a lot of work to do. For local problems that we see here in Bowling Green, we've definitely grown as a community, but some old school attitudes or stereotypes about gender are still very common. A big one, like I said, are stereotypes. Girls are kind of pushed towards certain roles that can limit what they're capable of and where they go. And boys' activities, especially sports, still tend to get more support, attention, and whether that's from funding, crowds, or just the community hype. Another thing is leadership. If you look at who's running, there aren't that many women in these positions in local government, school, or even community groups. A lot of those tie back to traditional beliefs about what women, quote unquote, should do. And those mindsets can make it harder for women to step into leadership roles without getting judged. This is section two, my interpret phase, where I did some research to find some resources that could help people dive deeper into gender equality. For this part, I looked at a UN Women's article, and it really opened my eyes to really how big of a global issue gender equality still is. Yes, we've made some progress, but the article points out that there are still huge gaps, especially when it comes to women in leadership, pay equity, and just basic safety. A lot of the barriers are tied to things that are really hard to change, like cultural expectations or systems that have been in place forever. But what I did like about the article is that it just wasn't all negative. It talks about how there are steps we can take in schools and workplaces and governments, and really just as regular people in a community. This is a TED Talk by Mary Ann Seighart, and she just explains that gender equality is not something that shows up in laws or big policies, but in the way women are treated and perceived in everyday life. She talks about how women are often taken less seriously than men, even when they have the same abilities or experience, and how these behaviors have become so normal that people don't even realize or notice them. This makes the issue much harder to address just because it's happening in small moments, like during conversations, classrooms, work, and social situations. The video also highlights that awareness is a powerful first step. Small changes in how we listen to women, support them, and respond to their ideas can create a real difference. This infographic makes it very clear that the gender pay gap is still a major issue around the world. It compares women's earnings in both high income and developing countries, and even though wealthier countries have made some progress, developing areas have seen very little improvement or even widening the gap. This visual also shows how this difference grows over time, because when women consistently earn less each year, it affects their long-term financial security, their ability to save, and the opportunities they can access. I made a Google form or a survey that I sent to some people in Bowling Green or that went to WKU. And when I look at the results, it is clear that most people still see big areas where women and girls need more support. Leadership representation and cultural stereotypes were the two issues that stood out most, with many respondents saying that those were the biggest improvements that are needed. Equal pay also came up as a major concern for half of the participants. When I asked how comfortable people would feel with a woman as the main decision maker in their workplace or classroom, the majority said they would feel very comfortable, which is encouraging, but it does not necessarily reflect how women are treated every day. These results show that even though people are open to women in leadership, they also recognize that real equality is still inconsistent and depends a lot on the environment. This is my brainstorm section. This is just showing people what they can do to support the global goal. I made a digital poster where I pulled together 6 practical solutions that connect directly to my global goal of gender equality. I wanted this poster to be something anyone could take a look at and immediately understood what actions made the difference. In this section, I'm bringing everything together by proposing a clear plan for how to move forward and actually make progress on gender equality. After looking at all the global, national, and local problems, as well as the responses I got on my form, I wanted to create something that reaches beyond the thoughts that people originally have. I made a YouTube video so I could share these ideas in a way that's easy for anyone to watch. The goal of the video is to raise awareness, show why gender equality matters for everyday life, and encourage people to take small actions that add up, whether that's advocating for fair opportunities or supporting women in leadership. To wrap everything up, this project shows that gender equality is something we have to think about at every level, globally, nationally, and even right here in our own communities. The issues we see come from everyday attitudes and long-standing systems that don't change overnight, but they can change when people start paying attention and speaking up. Real progress happens when we're willing to learn, advocate, and take small actions that support fairness and opportunity for everyone. My hope is that this presentation, along with the video I created, helps spread awareness and encourages more people to get involved in creating a more equal future. Thank you.